Today we're looking at something big happening in Germany, where 5 elections could change everything. Bulgaria just got approval to join the Eurozone, which sounds simple, but really isn't. The EU rolled out a whole suite of expensive new rules that will hit your wallet whether you're in Europe or watching from across the Atlantic. France's postal service got hammered by hackers right during the holidays. And Macron, well, he made promises again. But here's the thing, the most interesting part, the piece that ties all of this together in a way you probably haven't considered. I'm saving that for the end. Before we dive in, I need to ask you something. This work, what I do here, it takes hours, sometimes days, digging through sources, cross-referencing facts, making sure I'm not feeding you the same recycled narratives you get from corporate media. It's exhausting, honestly, and I do it because I believe you deserve better than talking points and spin. So if you find value in this, if you appreciate someone actually doing the homework, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And look, I know everyone asks for support, but consider sponsoring the channel or using YouTube's Super Thanks feature. It's not about me getting rich, it's about keeping this independent, keeping it honest, keeping it free from the pressures that made me walk away from mainstream media in the first place. Your support means I answer to you, not to advertisers, not to corporate boards. Just you, and stick around until the end, because what I'm going to show you there, it's the thread that connects everything. Let's start with Germany. 2026 is shaping up to be absolutely critical. 5 regional elections, 5 separate battlegrounds, all happening in 1 year. Now you might think, regional elections, who cares, right? Wrong. These aren't just local contests. These are potential earthquakes. Here's what most people miss. Germany's political establishment has spent years, decades really, building what they call a sanitary cordon around the AfD, the Alternative for Germany party. The idea is simple. Everyone else refuses to work with them. Doesn't matter how many votes they get, they stay locked out of power. It's a gentleman's agreement, unspoken but absolute, except now that agreement is showing cracks, real visible cracks, because when you have 5 elections in 1 year, when the traditional parties keep stumbling over scandals and failed votes and bitter fights about pensions, when people are genuinely angry, not just annoyed, but furious about how things are going, well, the math starts changing. And here's where things get even more intriguing. Experts, serious analysts, who don't traffic in hyperbole, they're saying it out loud now. For the first time in German history, one of these regional governments might actually be led by an AfD minister-president, a premier from the party everyone promised would never hold real power. Think about what that means, not just for Germany, but for the entire European project. The sanitary cordon, the firewall, it only works if everyone holds the line. But politics isn't about principle when your own political survival is at stake. And that's the calculation some politicians are quietly running right now. The Black-Red coalition in Berlin, the grand coalition that's supposed to represent stability and consensus. They're watching these regional races like hawks. Because if the wall breaks in one state, if someone decides that working with AfD is preferable to losing power entirely, the whole architecture collapses. You want to know why this matters beyond Germany's borders? Because Europe watches Germany, always has, the continent's economic engine, its presumed moral center after the 20th century. If Germany's political system starts fragmenting in unexpected ways, that sends signals everywhere, to Paris, to Rome, to Budapest, to every capital where populist movements are testing the limits of what's acceptable. But we're just getting started. Let's talk about Bulgaria, because this decision the EU just made, it's revealing in ways that go beyond simple economics. Bulgaria got the green light. Eurozone membership in 2026. They'll be the 21st country to ditch their national currency for the euro. Brussels is celebrating this as another triumph of integration, another step toward that ever-closer union they keep talking about. Except, and you knew there was an except coming, there are serious questions nobody wants to ask too loudly. Is Bulgaria actually ready for this? Not bureaucratically, they pass the tests on paper, but really ready for the kind of monetary discipline the euro demands, ready for the loss of flexibility that comes with giving up your own currency. Here's the uncomfortable part. The euro is great when your economy is strong, when you're competitive, when you can handle the rigidity, but when things go sideways, when you need to adjust quickly, when devaluation might actually help your exports and tourism, you can't. You're locked in. You take your medicine the hard way, through wage cuts and unemployment and austerity. Greece learned this lesson. Spain learned it. Portugal learned it. And the social cost, the human cost, it's real. People lose jobs, young people emigrate, whole communities hollow out. So why is Brussels pushing this now? Because the EU needs wins. It needs to show that the project still has momentum, still has appeal, even as skepticism grows across the continent. Bulgaria joining the Eurozone, on paper that looks like success. But if it triggers economic pain down the line, if it accelerates the migration of young Bulgarians to richer EU countries, if it becomes another case study in integration gone wrong, well, that's a problem for future bureaucrats to solve. And speaking of bureaucrats in Brussels, let's talk about the regulatory avalanche they just unleashed, because this is where theory meets your actual life. End of 2025, they finalized a massive package of new rules. Cars, food production, carbon emissions, housing standards, all of it kicks in starting January 1st. And all of it costs money. Lots of money. For businesses, this means higher compliance costs, more paperwork, more audits, more lawyers telling you what you can and can't do. For consumers, and this is you and me and everyone watching, it means higher prices. Your car costs more because of new emission standards. Your groceries cost more because of new agricultural rules. Your utilities cost more because of new building codes. Now, Brussels will tell you this is necessary. Climate change, consumer protection, environmental sustainability, all noble goals. And maybe they're right about the goals. But here's what they're not being honest about. The timing, the scale, the cumulative burden on people who are already struggling with inflation and stagnant wages and economic uncertainty. And this is rocket fuel for populists. You think people like being told their heating bills are going up for the greater good? You think small business owners enjoy filling out forms about carbon footprints while trying to keep the lights on? This is the kind of thing that drives voters straight into the arms of politicians promising to tear down the whole system. I'm not saying the rules are wrong per se. I'm saying the way they're being imposed, this top-down, take-your-medicine approach, it's politically stupid. It feeds the narrative of disconnected elites dictating to regular people. And in a year, when Germany is holding 5 critical elections, when France is teetering, when the entire European project is under stress, you'd think someone in Brussels might pause and ask whether this is really the moment. But apparently not. So here we are. Green dictatorship. That's what the critics are calling it. And whether that's fair or not, the phrase is sticking. Now let's shift to France, because this cyber attack story is small in one sense and huge in another. La Poste, the French postal service, got hit. Again, this is the second major cyber attack they've suffered recently. And the timing right during the New Year's holidays, when people are tracking packages and managing deliveries and trying to use online services, it's almost perfectly designed for maximum disruption. Several systems went down. Package tracking, customer portals, the works. For regular people, this is annoying. You're waiting for something, you can't see where it is, you're frustrated. But zoom out, and this is about something bigger. This is about critical infrastructure vulnerability in the heart of the European Union. La Poste isn't some startup, it's a national institution. And if they can be taken down this easily, this repeatedly, what does that say about France's cyber defenses? What does it say about Europe's readiness for this new kind of conflict? Because make no mistake, this is conflict. Cyber warfare isn't theoretical anymore. It's not hackers in basements doing this for fun. This is coordinated, sophisticated, persistent, and it's happening everywhere, all the time. Power grids, hospitals, transportation systems, financial networks, nothing is truly safe. France knows this. Every European capital knows this. But knowing and actually defending are two different things. And what we're seeing is that even major institutions with serious resources are struggling. The gap between what they need and what they have, it's frightening. And here's the part that should worry you. If they can disrupt La Poste during the holidays, what else can they disrupt when? For how long? These aren't abstract questions anymore. This is the chaos of cyber conflict playing out in real time. And it's only going to get worse, because the tools are getting better, the targets are getting softer, and the consequences are getting harder to predict or contain. All right, let's close this out with Macron, because his New Year's address, it's almost poetic in how much it reveals about where he is right now. I will work until the last second. That's what he promised. Last second of his second and final mandate. He's term limited, everyone knows it, and so this is his closing act, his final season, if you will. And what a season it's been. The protests, the pension fights, the collapse of his parliamentary majority, the sliding approval ratings. Macron came in as this transformative figure, this young disruptor who was going to modernize France and lead Europe into a new era. And instead, he's limping toward the finish line, trying to salvage some kind of legacy while his opponents smell blood. So this New Year's speech, it's a rebranding attempt. National reconciliation, unity, all the usual stuff politicians say when things aren't going well. But you have to wonder who he's really talking to. His own party, the French public who've mostly tuned him out, the European leaders who once saw him as the future and now see him as yesterday's news. There's something almost sad about it. He's still smart, still articulate, still capable, but the moment has moved past him, and he knows it. You can hear it in the language, this determination to matter until the very end, to not be a lame duck, even though everyone already treats him like one. And for Europe, that's a problem, because France needs a strong president right now. The EU needs French leadership. But what they have is someone running out the clock trying to convince people he still matters. So here's the thread I promised you. Here's what connects all of this. Germany fragmenting under electoral pressure, Bulgaria joining a Eurozone that might crush its economy, Brussels imposing expensive rules nobody asked for, France's infrastructure failing under cyber attack, Macron fading into irrelevance. It's all the same story. The story of institutions under strain, of systems that were built for a different era, trying to handle pressures they weren't designed for, of elites losing legitimacy because they keep promising solutions and delivering problems, of publics getting angrier and more willing to blow things up because incremental change feels like a joke. This is 2026 in Europe. Not collapse, not yet, but not stability either. Something in between. Something uncertain. And the question isn't whether these tensions resolve themselves. They won't. The question is what breaks first and how loud the crash will be when it happens. So there's your context. There's your bigger picture. 5 elections in Germany, a risky Eurozone expansion, regulatory overreach, cyber vulnerability, a French president out of time, all of it connected, all of it pointing in the same direction. If this analysis meant something to you, if it gave you perspective you're not getting elsewhere, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and seriously, consider supporting this work financially. Sponsorship, super thanks, whatever works for you. Because this kind of independent journalism, it's labor intensive and it doesn't happen without your backing. I don't have a newsroom or a corporate budget, I have you. And that's actually how I want it. But it only works if you're in this with me. Thanks for watching and stay sharp out there.